Well, this chapter hit me on several different levels emotionally, and all throughout Usopp and really his journey of self-awareness. But really good stuff, man.
One Piece, chapter 331, the big argument.
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, and I'm here to bring you another review on another awesome and excellently written, cleverly woven chapter in the long-running tale of One Piece. Our last chapter, of course, saw us with really just kind of a balls-to-the-wall action as Luffy, Sanji, Zoro, and Chopper just decimated the Frankie family and their house. However, though, at the end, Luffy, finally had come to the realization and made the decision as the captain that we're going to have to let the Going Merry go. We're going to have to move on to another ship. And although it was heart-wrenching, on one hand, on the other hand, it makes sense, so but it was still very, very difficult. So that's how things left off. Things pick up over here, and we hadn't seen in a couple of chapters, and I thought it was worth mentioning, that fella Corgy that came from the world government to come and talk to Mr. Iceberg and what have you, and meet with him. We see the aftermath of that meeting, and Corgy's kind of pissed off, and he's, bitching about how he had to come out there, and blah, 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 don't they understand how much, and he leaves. And Kalifa comes in, to bring Mr. Iceberg some tea and kind of asks him, like, hey, what's up? Whenever this guy comes by, he leaves all pissed off in a big huff, And I don't know if this is going to be one of the bigger overarching stories here, but I feel like it has some importance, so I'm going to talk about it for a minute. And so anyway, so Iceberg says, he always comes here asking for something that I have, and that he wants or what have you. And she says, well, what do you tell him, And she says, well, I just always tell him that I don't know what he's talking about, So there's obviously something that Iceberg has knowledge of or possesses, whether that's a person, a weapon, or whatever, I don't know. Plans for something, maybe, I'm not really quite sure. But I do know that at the end of this brief 2 pages, he was looking at Nico Robin's wanted poster, her bounty poster. And he asked about her, too. He asked if she was in their crew. He asked Luffy 3-4 chapters back. So, like I said, I think that there is an overarching connection with all of this and maybe the CP9. I'm not really, obviously, in the light, in the know about what's going on yet. But I'm trying to slowly put together the puzzle pieces, and I think it was worth mentioning. So, the rest of the chapter takes place on the Going Merry. The crew has gotten back now, of course, of course Sanji and Zoro and Luffy and Chopper, and Nami was on the ship protecting their 100 million that they still had left, and of course, they wound up getting Usopp. They wound up getting Usopp back to the ship. So Usopp wakes up from his wounds from being beat up not once but twice by the Frankie family, and like I said. I think I said this in the last chapter. Usopp is one of those characters that he doesn't feel like he has a lot of self-worth, and I'm a person who understands how that is because for many, many years, I focused on things like I have bad eyesight, I have a bad complexion. I have these things, I focused on what I couldn't do. What I couldn't do is what I focused on, as opposed to the talents I had and the positive things that I could do, that I could bring to a team, to a company, to a family, whatever, right? And that's where Usopp's at right now. He's in a dark place because he feels as if he's not worth anything, and that he's just holding everybody back. So, anyway, he wakes up, and they're trying to, and of course he's all beaten and bandaged, bloody, broken, bruised, a lot of other bees. And he's talking, and Luffy winds up talking to him, and he says, listen, I'm so sorry, and I lost the 200 million, and I'm blah, blah, and he's upset, right? And Luffy says, listen, it's fine, don't worry about it. We still got 100 million left, And the main thing, and even Nami goes and points out, says, it's don't worry about it, it's cool. You, to some degree, obviously that's important, it's our money, but, you could have gotten yourself killed, you should have kind of waited for backup to go in there. But for Usopp, it was very much, like I said, it's a one-man army. It's one man's journey. It's one man's journey from going to mediocrity and not believing in yourself to being able to have some independence and some self-worth and feel like you're adding some things to the crew. Now, I can tell you that people like Nami and Usopp are the most valuable people in the crew. Because somebody like Usopp that's constantly repairing things and fixing things, or like a Chopper who's constantly helping people heal, bandaging them up, Nami who's keeping them on the Grand Line, getting from island to island, being able to judge these different storms and swells and things like that. those are just as important of a job as, and it's just like in a movie, you know, everybody likes to look at the main actor, you know, this character, oh my god, they got Tom Cruise, they got Brad Pitt, you know, but you don't look at the hundreds of people that go into, like, the camera shots, the sound, the special effects, the different angles. Those are the unsung heroes of the movie that put it together. Sure, the actor looks good on screen doing it, but it's really that supporting cast that makes it all come together. And that's something that Usopp's having trouble getting over. And I don't want to dwell too much on it here, but really that's what I see from this chapter, because as they start to converse, he thinks at first, because first, you know, Luffy says, the first time he comes out with it, he says, I've made a decision, we're going to switch ships, you know. And Usopp's at first, he's like, whoa, no, you can quit kidding. Just quit kidding around, guys. That's his first reaction. Then, no, we're not kidding. This is what we have to do. And then his reaction is it's my fault. It's because I lost the 200 million berries, right? If we had all 300 million, it must be really expensive to get the ship fixed, so it's my fault that we lost it. So it's very much he's looking at that, looking inward and looking to blame himself for everything. So as that conversation is escalating and getting worse and worse with things, and then Luffy is also, you know, he's very singularly focused and very pig-headed with things. He doesn't take a lot of time to go and explain what happened and why he came to this conclusion. Luckily, the rest of the crew goes and starts talking about it and explaining to him that, you know, listen, you know, we took this thing to these shipwrights. They told us that it wouldn't. So then Usopp's thing, then it's denial. It can't be. First it was a joke, then it was, oh, it's my fault, you know, woe is me. Now it's denial. It's like, and I've done this before too with things, right? Oh no, it just got to be, you know, it's got to be. They're just trying to pull the wool over your eyes. They're just salesmen, you know. I can't believe you'd let them tell you and this and that and everything else. And the reason I can sympathize with that is that years ago, we had a dog. We bought him we bought him from a breeder as a puppy, and a full bred. First time we ever had a non-mutt dog is full bred. He was a few years old, and he kind of started all of a sudden kind of bumping around the house, sort of bumping into things. And I thought that he was just sort of rubbing up against people for more attention, because we had our second child at the time, and he was just kind of trying to get some of that attention back that was being focused on the baby. He wound up having a seizure and starting to foam at the mouth. I was at work. My wife took him into the animal hospital, the vet, and I got a call at work, and I mean, she was just bawling, and she said, you know, they said Mercury's got that was his name, Mercury, said he's got a brain tumor, you know, and that, and then we're gonna have to put him down. And that was one of the worst days of my life. I had to come home, and I had to tell my 13-year-old son at the time was about 8, I think, a 7 or 8-year-old, when he got home from school, that we have to go say goodbye to your dog, and we have to go put him to sleep, you know. And then I was the one that went in the room with him and held him while they, you know, injected him with whatever they do and stuff. And anyway, I'm sorry, I did really focus here a little bit. My point is that I didn't want to believe them when they first told me that. I had to go for myself. I had to talk with the doctor. Then I had to go and I had to get an opinion of a second vet and everything else. And all the while, it didn't change what was happening with it, but I felt like in my mind I didn't want to believe it, so I felt like, well, they must be wrong. They must be just telling me this. They're just trying to get me to do some kind of expensive operation on them or something, and there was nothing that they could do. Anyways, nonetheless, though, we'll move past that. All I'm saying is I can understand some of Usopp's feelings because I've been there and I've done that myself. And that's what I love about this story, is it brings those things out in you. It's a fictional story, but it relates so well to some things that have happened to many of us in real life. You know, I'm sure many of us can empathize with that. So this escalates, and it gets to the point where Luffy literally goes and just like slams Usopp down, and then he's just like, you know what? If you got a problem with what I say and this and that, you can just... And then Sanji's like, whap! Just kicks Luffy in the face, and he's like, what the hell? And Sanji's like, Luffy, don't say anything that you'll regret, you know, because they know that a lot of times he goes and he speaks without thinking. And Luffy's like, oh yeah, you're right, you know. And then Usopp's like, no, you know what? So now he goes through the phase where it's back to the I have no worth at all, the low self-esteem, the no self-worth. Because then Usopp gets into it, and he's just like, you know what? This and that's probably what you really meant. I'm just holding you guys back anyway. You guys, I can't compare with your powers, and today proved that I couldn't even watch the money, you know. And this is the part where it's the self-doubt, and it's him looking into, and I'm trying to be a psychologist here, I'm just trying to tell you the different stages that he's having of this. And then he's looking at himself as like, you know what? Listen, I'm the only person that doesn't have this huge, grandiose dream. You know, I kind of just joined up with you guys just to join up with you guys and be on the sea. I don't have this big overarching goal. There's no reason for me to be traveling with you. I'm just holding you back anyway. So he goes to march off the ship, right? Luffy's like, where are you going? He's like, oh, it's my business where I'm going, you know? And then I love it, man. Usopp goes and turns around, and as messed up as he is and everything else, and as undermatched as he feels to anybody else on the ship, he turns around, right, as he's off the ship and out on the ground. He turns around and he says, you know what, Luffy? I want to fight you for the ship. So he wants to go and fight Luffy, right, who he knows is superior in strength and everything else. He wants to fight him for the right to be able to have the ship, because he doesn't want to just let the ship die there, you know. And like I said, he doesn't believe that the ship is whether he truly does or not, I don't know, but he went through several different stages, you know, of denial. He thought they were joking. He thought... So, man, what a great chapter, but also gut-wrenching, because the chapter goes and ends up, though, with, you know, with the look over here, which is definitely not good, and he's just like, fight me! And then you go and you see Usopp's face, and of course, oh, sorry, I'm covering up Usopp's face, and Usopp's dead serious, man. So anybody who doesn't take my boy Usopp serious there, better back the fuck up before you get smacked the fuck up, because I'm telling you that there's a lot of times where someone that, just because they don't have that great physical strength, they can rise to the occasion, you know what I mean? They really can. You take somebody who you maybe hurt a loved one of theirs, and I tell you, that person who looked like a physical weakling will destroy you, you know what I mean? It's absolutely the case, I think, with Usopp. I think he's going to find some inner strength, because he even mentioned, too, in the chapter about how the Mary is, you know, it's like a part of them. It's a person, you know? And then Luffy's like, married to a person. It's not, but I understand what he's saying. It's got a spirit within it, you know? I mean, I don't know, just... That's how I look at it, you know, like it's not a living, breathing person, but it has so much character, and it's been through so much, you know, every dent and ding and whatnot. Anyway, again, I'm kind of in the camp of, I don't really know, like, it's tough to let it go, but I understand they have to, you know. So anyway, my chapter question for you, though, brothers and sisters, is what are your thoughts on really Usopp and his many different stages of, you know, denial and grief and low self-worth and pity and, you know, all these other sort of things that he went through? Let me know what your answer is to that question in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next Fun Nation.
If you'd like to see more artwork like this, remember to follow me on Facebook and Twitter and even my other channel,